Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and there's probably a few things in Marvel Future Fight that you're doing wrong at one point in time or another. I know for sure I've made tons of mistakes over the years, and I continue to make mistakes now and then in the game. But what I wanted to share with you guys were some tips on what you can do to minimize those mistakes and essentially have other people like me do the testing for you so that you can just have a smoother gameplay experience. So the first one I want to showcase and bring up to you is maybe a little bit on the controversial side, but it's always good to start with the controversial stuff. And it happens to be the agent level bonuses. Now you can reach this by going to the menu, and then in the top left hand corner under the word upgrade, you can click agent. And now when you click bonuses, there's a bunch of different bonuses that you can allocate points into, and you can spend 500,000 gold to reset those bonuses for different stats. Now, the normal suggestions, and then the ones that get passed around a lot and have been passed around as sort of the guiding wisdom for what to do with your points, and you'll get more points as you accumulate more characters and etc., is to put the first 100 points into item acquisition, which affects things like dimension missions, dimension rifts, and dispatch and timeline survival, right? So some pretty good content. And then the other suggestion after that is to pump 100 points into gold acquisition, because everyone needs gold in this game. It's so needed, right? And this gold acquisition, again, affects content like dimension missions, epic quests, dispatch, and dimension rifts. Same sort of content. It doesn't affect things like multiverse invasion, unfortunately, but that, you know, it is what it is. And then from there, normally the idea is, okay, well, depending on what you need, right, you're probably going to want to put points into maybe max HP, right? If you need a little bit more HP for your characters or what have you. Generally speaking, people don't go for increased XP unless they're very, very new to the game. And if you're very new, you're not going to have very many points to put into it. But the points are pretty nice because it's 1% per point. So even a small number of points can make a big difference. But you're going to spec out of that. You're going to, you know, reset and then remove those points eventually, right? Like you reach a point where you have a bunch of level 5 XP chips. You don't even need to do that anymore. But what if I told you you don't even need to do the gold acquisition? That's right. Now, the gold acquisition seems really good, and I don't have like raw data to come here and be like, oh, well, if you blah, blah, blah this, and if you blah, blah, blah that. But what I will tell you is that you could just check yourself. You could just go and check, and this is what I did. The amount of gold that you get in these missions is not very high. I think the highest gold you get per a single mission of a single epic quest run is about 20,000 gold, maybe 25,000. So this really doesn't increase it by very much. 20% of 20,000 is like 5,000 gold, right? It's actually 4,000 gold. It's not very much gold, right? Even if it's 30,000, right? 20% of 30,000 is not much more than 4,000. Now you might say to yourself, sure, Alex, but it adds up over time. It certainly does add up over time. It certainly does. I think I did the math, and it's something like an extra 5 million gold per month. That's right. Now, this may have, you know, there may be some argument here if you do a lot of, or if you're planning to do a lot of dispatch mission runs, right? If you have like thousands of energy banked up, some people have tens of thousands of energy banked up, I've seen it, then it may be prudent, it may be a good idea to go ahead and pump 100 points into gold acquisition temporarily. But I would say your best bet is actually to skip it. Especially if you're into PvP. If you're a mid-level to end game type player, I think this is a better idea. And then on top of that, I think if you are into PvP, this becomes an even more attractive option, and that is to pump the points into all defense. Now, my alliance mates might take issue to this because this is maybe not so well kept secret anymore in the PvP community. But as you can see there, 248 points gives me almost 7.5% all defense to all of my characters. That's like having an extra roll, an extra line of text on one of your cards, and you can keep pumping that up as much as you want. Now, some people might say, oh, but Alex, but what about the attack? What about the HP? Isn't HP more valuable because there's HP multipliers in game modes? While that is true, the HP percentage, as you can see, is 0.02, not 0.03, so you get much less bang for your buck. As you can see here, if I put in all of those 200 plus points that I have, I only get about 5%. Now, 5% HP can still be very meaningful, especially if you don't have a lot of HP on your cards. So I would recommend, if you don't have a lot of HP on your cards, but you're trying to get there and you're trying to participate, effectively in PvP, I would say start with the HP. And then as you develop more HP on your cards and it's not as necessary anymore, I would say switch to defense. I think people would be very surprised at how far the defense goes and how it can be the difference maker when you feel like you have a max build on a character, when you feel like, oh man, my Jean Grey has everything, but she still keeps dying. It really does make a difference in the long run. It can add thousands of raw stats to the defensive numbers, and then that can be the difference between taking too much damage and dying or surviving. Anywho, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing I wanted to talk about is inventory issues. I see this a lot, and oh, I have to claim that icon. This is another thing. There's just a lot of weird quirks with inventory, but I also see a lot of players just not really understanding how to make the most and how to manage their inventory. So what I see a lot of players do is they just demand that we get more inventory. And that's not really how to fix the problem, because if you just demand more inventory, like sure, I have 300 extra inventory slots because of my VIP, so I have an easier time managing my inventory than if I didn't have these. Absolutely. But regardless of how much inventory you have, whether it's 1,000 or 500 or 5,000, you're always going to run into this issue if you keep mismanaging your inventory space. So for this page, there's really nothing you can do. All of these items are valuable. You could sell your level 1 to 4 XP chips, but they come back, right? You get them from different content, so there's really nothing you can do here. The vast majority of where you can handle and fix your inventory is in these 5 or 6 places right here, but it's really just 5. These ones right here. There's really nothing to do here, and there's generally nothing to do here unless you're a psycho. So it really just comes down to the upgrade tab. So that's why I pressed the little question mark so that you can take a look. Everything under consumables, right, above the material, above the last 2 and after the first one. You got to look at those numbers. And in particular, you got to look at the custom gears, the ISO, and potentially the cards. Because if those numbers are in the hundreds, especially the multiple hundreds, like there should never be a time where I have 200 plus custom gears. If you have 200 plus custom gears or 200 plus ISO, you're doing it wrong, I'm sorry to say. So let's go ahead and investigate. For the obelisks here, for the custom gears, the problem is I'm holding on to a lot of 1 and 2, like I'm holding on to a lot of low star obelisks. So I'm going to go ahead and sell these. You don't have to do this in particular, but this is one easy way to just quickly free up some inventory space. That's pretty obvious, Alex. Okay, I knew about that. Now, as you can see here, I'm holding on to way too many 4-star and way too many 5-star and honestly, way too many 6-star obelisks. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with combining these 4-star obelisks into other obelisks. I will give you an extra detail here that I think a lot of people miss. You can actually visually, in a way, sort the obelisks based on or keep track of what you have based on their position. The way that the game naturally sorts obelisks, it puts all of the obelisks that have guard break immunity, stun immunity, web immunity, it puts all of those immunity obelisks at the top. Those are always the ones that go first. And then after that is the resists. So after that, you're going to get, it's resists or it's elemental damage. I never quite remember. But after all of the immunity ones, you get, okay, then you get the damages. And the damages always follow the same pattern. It's something like, it's like mind, poison, cold, lightning, fire, whatever. But it always ends with fire. It starts with mind and it ends with fire. And the reason why you want to know that it ends with fire, you can see there's lightning, there's fire, right? The reason why you want to know it ends with fire is because right after fire damage, the game always sorts ignore dodge. So I look in the middle, right? Because usually it's about in the middle. I look in the middle for ignore dodge. See, right after fire damage, boom, ignore dodge, ignore dodge, ignore dodge. How many got? 3, 4, and then you get ignore defense, and then you get a bunch of resists after that, and then you get HP, all defense. You get all defense, you get HP, you get dodge, you get recovery rate. So the ignore dodge is really helpful, especially for newer players. So I always go ahead and lock those. Second thing you want to look for is at the very bottom. At the very bottom, you get 2 really important stats that get sorted to the bottom by default on obelisks. You get crit rate and crit damage. Crit rate is always at the very bottom. It's always going to be at the very bottom. And then right before crit rate is always going to be, if you have any, it's going to be crit damage. So there you go, crit damage right after crit rate. So you can use these ideas, right? And you got dodge here. So you can use these, and then you can use this knowledge to very quickly find, isolate, and then lock if you want, or upgrade if you'd rather, those particular obelisks. And this is the same exact for 5 stars, right? So you can see there, you got the guard break, you got the web immunity, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes immediately into the mind damage ones. So there you go. Ignore dodge is going to be right here. You can see I've already locked a couple of them. And then at the bottom, we're going to find crit damage and crit rate. We got recovery, all defense. Okay, I didn't have any crit damage. I had a crit rate. Anyways, what's more important, if we're going back now, forget the obelisk, not forget, but, you know, obelisk sorting aside, what I don't see many players doing, but then they complain about inventory space, is they're not using the convert function properly, or they're not using it at all, frankly. So the convert function basically allows you to crunch down and minimize all of these obelisks or all of these extreme whatever, right? 6-star cards, 6-star obelisks, 6-star ISO, anything that's 6 stars that you don't need and you're just using it as reroll fodder for CTPs, for other obelisks, whatever, for you know, awakening ISO, rerolling, not rerolling ISO, but awakening ISO, rerolling cards, or using it towards your agent level. Just convert them. Just convert them. You can't convert CTPs, so don't panic. Don't bother converting anything under 6 stars because it's just not very useful. But all of the 6-star ones that you don't have a need for, right? If you go ahead and look here, a lot of these are just bad rolls, right? Bad roll here. That's actually not a bad roll, but I'm not going to keep it. That's a bad roll. That's a bad roll. That's a low roll for me. That's a low roll. Okay, so you can see they're low roll, bad roll obelisks. I'm not going to keep them. If you're not going to keep them, don't sell them. Just convert them. There you go. 16 of those obelisks just got converted. And now the 8 becomes 24. And now I just saved myself 16 spots in my inventory. Just like that. And I see people with hundreds of obelisks. And I'm thinking, what are you doing, bud? You don't need to hold 100 different obelisks. If you're not using them for anything but re-rolling, then just convert them into extreme boost. You can go to the cards and you can do the same thing. After you upgrade your cards, okay, I've got 2 new mythic cards, but I'm not going to use these because I already have a bunch of premium cards equipped, whatever the case may be. You have these cards. Look, they're just sitting here, each taking up 1 spot each. That's just a massive waste. So rather than doing that, just convert all of the mythics, another 8. Just like that, I'm already 24 spots, right? In just like 5 clicks, I'm 24 spots, you know, better, and I opened up 24 spots in my inventory. Same thing goes for ISO. I don't even need this much ISO. I've cleaned out and cleared out my ISO lately, but you really don't even need this much. I see people holding hundreds of chaotic ISOs, and you really don't need that many. Obviously, the good ones, right? Energy attack HP, all attack HP, you want to keep those, sure. But the ones that are bad, you can either keep a couple of them for re-rolling ISO that has, you know, that's been awakened. Like, for example, this one, you can only change the option with other ISO. So you got to be careful about that. If everything is extreme ISO, it won't work. But there you go. You get a good roll, you stop, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But all of the other ones, like if you have hundreds, right? If you have hundreds of ISO like this, where they're just 6-star, not the 4-star or whatever, but if they're just like plain 6-star, convert some of them, right? Just convert some of them. Look at how many I have if I wanted to. I could convert 72. I'm not going to do that, right? Because I have upgraded a lot of them to +5. But I could probably convert half of them and free up another 36 or 38 slots in my inventory. Again, and it would just be converted into this, which I can easily use to, you know, very quickly awaken ISO that I want. Like if I want to take this ISO here and I want to relay awaken it, boom, I just need 21 of those. So they have absolutely a ton of use, right? But they're better off being used when they're crunched down than taking up 21 slots in your inventory and then you struggling to manage your inventory, right? So yeah, you know, it doesn't really work out for many other things. It doesn't obviously work out for Uru. It doesn't work out for swords, and it doesn't work out for artifacts. But those 3, I think, are the prime suspect. And what I see people doing, I see people basically not taking advantage of the combine feature, and the convert feature, and it's a huge improvement. It's a huge improvement. Look at this, 42. That would otherwise be 41 extra slots in my inventory that I'd be wasting, right? So that 815 would move up to like 856, right? And then here another 23 slots, right? We're almost at 900. You can see how easily, right? And then there you go, 900, 1,000, 1,100. There you go. If I didn't use just from the convert function, if I didn't use the convert function, I would be completely maxed on my inventory right now, and I'd be like, oh no, what do I do? You just you know, Take advantage of that, and you'll be in a much better position. So yeah, those are some tips that I had for you. Hopefully they're helpful. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Smash the like button. It helps out the channel tremendously. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.